Stop scrolling for a second. If you've been feeling like your paycheck evaporates faster than your morning coffee, if you're wondering why you work so hard but your savings account is barely awake, if you have big dreams but your bank account is whispering, not today, then this is the most important video, maybe even the most important financial conversation you'll have this year. Because today, I'm pulling back the curtains on one of the most talked about budgeting methods in the world, the 50-30-20 rule. You learn what it is, why it became so popular, how it can either help or harm your financial journey, and a deep dive on what you should be doing instead if you want to build real wealth. And by the end, you know exactly why I never give my clients a cookie cutter budget and why your own custom financial roadmap could be the thing that changes everything. Let's be honest, the word budget has a bad reputation. For many people, it feels like a diet, restrictive, boring, and impossible to stick to. But the truth is, most budgets fail because they're not designed for real life. They don't account for the fact that your rent or mortgage might already eat up half of your income. There's surprise costs like when your car needs repairs right after you book your family trip. And they don't account for seasonal changes like back to school shopping, holiday gifts, or summer camps for the kids if you have them. I work with families where the parents earn solid incomes, but every month ends with, where did it all go? And I've seen single professionals who make six figures or more, but have no plan. So they spend just as fast as they earn. It's like having a bathtub full of water, but you forgot to pull the plug in. You're filling it up, but it's draining just as fast. The problem isn't that people don't care about their money. Is that they've been given oversimplified solutions to very complex financial situations. Let me explain to you the 50-30-20 rule so that you understand it a little bit better. This rule was popularized by U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren in her book, All Your Worth, The Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan. The idea is simple. 50% needs to cover rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportations, insurance, minimum debt payment. 30% wants to cover things like dining out, vacations, hobbies, entertainment, subscriptions. And the 20% they're supposed to cover savings and debt payments. This is supposed to cover things like investments and retirement contributions, emergency fund, extra mortgage payments, paying down high interest debt. It's straightforward, memorable, and feels achievable. That's why it's become so widely recommended, even in personal finance books or in media articles. But here's where reality checks in. In cities like Toronto or Vancouver, in New York or Washington, keeping housing under 50% of your take-home pay can be impossible without major sacrifices. If you're paying off significant debt, 20% might not even cover the interest charges fast enough to make progress. And for families, the line between needs and wants gets very blurry very fast. Is a child's extracurricular a need? Is upgrading your healthier groceries a want or a need? You see how that could be confusing? So let's give credit where credit is due though. This rule works well as a starting point because it's simple. No massive spreadsheets or 50 budget categories. It keeps you focused on 3 big buckets, making it less overwhelming. And it creates a quick snapshot of where your money is going. If you've never budgeted before, it's like having training wheels when you learn how to bike. It helps you balance without falling over. And for people who hate tracking every penny, it offers a broad structure without the details that can make you quit. But here's where this rule can backfire. Cost of living reality. If you live in an expensive city, the 50% needs limit is unrealistic. Many people living in major cities spend 60 to 70% on needs, and that's without them being extra, okay? Then we have one size fits all thinking. This rule assumes every household has similar expenses and goals. That's like saying every family should drive the same car regardless of size, climate, or budget. Another way it can backfire is slow savings growth. If you're starting late or have ambitious goals, 20% savings might not get you there fast enough. And lastly, debt overload. Combining savings and debt repayment into the same 20% bucket can make it harder to prioritize high interest debt. It's a decent starter tool, but it's not the master plan you need if you want to retire comfortably, fund your kids' education, or become debt free faster. Now, if the 50-30-20 rule feels like trying to squeeze into a pair of jeans from 10 years ago, meaning you can get them on, but you can't breathe, let's look at some other budgeting frameworks that might actually fit your life better. I want to stress something here. There is no perfect budget for everyone. Your budget is like a pair of glasses. It has to be tailored to your prescription. All right, let's get started with the alternative budgeting methods. Number one, the 60-20-20 rule. This is best for families or professionals in high cost of living areas where rent or mortgage payments already eat up a big chunk of your income. Here's the breakdown, and I hope you have a pen and paper to write this down. 60% needs like mortgage, rent, transportation, groceries, insurance, basic utilities. 20% wants like dining out, shopping, hobbies, entertainment. And 20% savings and debt repayment like retirement contribution, investing for you and for your kids' education if you have kids, and extra payments toward debt. Why this works? It acknowledges that needs are often more expensive than the textbook 50% allows. And instead of making you feel like a budgeting failure, it adjusts the framework to reality. Here's a pro tip for you. If you start here, aim to slowly move from 60% to 55% on needs over time. That 5% shift into savings can compound dramatically over a decade. Method number two, the 70-20-10 rule. This is best for people who need to dig out of debt and fast. Here's the breakdown. 70% needs the essentials, 20% debt repayment. This is in addition to your minimum payments. Targeted, aggressive payoff. And 10% wants. Yes, you need to keep some fun money because all work and no play, it's a recipe for burnout. Why this works? It forces your money towards debt elimination like a laser beam. And the faster you reduce debt, the less interest you bleed away to lenders. And that interest saved is money you can later redirect to savings. As an example, if you have $25,000 in credit card debt at 19% interest, even an extra $200 a month increase in payments could save you thousands in interest and shave years off repayment. Method number three, the zero-based budget. This is best for people who love details or have unpredictable income, like entrepreneurs or commission-based professionals. Here's the breakdown. Every single dollar is assigned a job before the month begins. No miscellaneous category. Every expense has its purpose. Why this works? It prevents floating dollars that mysteriously vanish. Here's where I would use caution. This one can feel tedious, so I recommend automation. Set up your transfers for savings, bills, and investments on payday so you're not manually moving money every week. Method number four, pay yourself first method. This is best for anyone who struggles to save consistently. How this works? The moment your paycheck lands, a set percentage, whether that's 10%, 50%, or 20%, is automatically moved onto savings or investments. You leave on the rest. And why this works? You're prioritizing your future self over impulse spending today. Here's a tip for you. Pair this with separate accounts for different goals. One for retirement, one for emergencies, and one for short-term goals like a trip or a home renovation. Method number 5, the hybrid approach. This is best for families and individuals whose expenses fluctuate throughout the year. And how this works: combine elements of different rules. For example, from January to June, you do 60-20-20 method, but in July and August, when kids are home and expenses spike, you temporarily shift to 70-15-15. Why this works? It's adaptable. You don't beat yourself up when life changes. You just adjust the percentages and keep moving forward. Now let's talk about where budgeting gets more complex. When it's not just your needs and wants, but an entire household's. Family have moving parts. Kids have activities, partners have different spending habits, and surprise expenses happen more often than you think. So how do we make the 50-30-20 rule or any budget work for families? You start by defining your family's non-negotiables. Before you even assign percentages, sit down and list the expenses that matter most. This could be healthy groceries over fast food, a specific extracurricular for the kids, a family vacation every year. Knowing these non-negotiables makes it easier to cut budgets in other areas without guilt. Then you decide on needs versus wants. The family edition. For a single person, needs are straightforward, but in families, it's not always clear. Is daycare a need? Yes. If both parents work, it's essential to earning income. Is sports camp a want or need? It could be a need if it doubles as childcare during the summer. The key? Decide together so there's no resentment when you cut or adjust spending. Then you focus on seasonal budgeting. Unlike a single professional whose expenses are fairly stable, families face big seasonal swings. Back to school, you need new clothes, school supplies, after school activities that you need to pay for. Winter holidays, gifts may be a must. Travel is essential for you. Hosting dinners with family and friends are family value. Summer, camps for kids, vacation, higher utility bills. I recommend having sinking funds, small amounts you set aside every month for predictable seasonal expenses. For example, saving $100 a month for back to school means that $1,200 is ready when August arrives. Here's some food for thought for you. Involve kids in budget conversations. Even young kids can learn the basics. You might give them a small allowance and teach them to save a portion, or you can show older kids how much groceries cost and let them help compare prices. It's not about burdening them. It's about building lifelong financial literacy that you wish you had from your parents, right? Partner alignment. This might be the hardest part. If one partner is a spender and the other one is a saver, conflict is inevitable without a shared plan. Here's what works. Have monthly money meetings with your partner to review spending and adjust as needed. Set no judgment zone for personal spending so each partner gets a set amount to use however they want, guilt-free. When families treat budgeting as a team sport instead of a solo project, there's more buy-in, less stress, and a much greater chance you'll actually stick to the plan. The real magic, though, isn't in a formula. It's in the plan. A budget without a long-term roadmap is like setting your GPS without a destination. You'll drive in circles. That's why I created my financial roadmap session to give you a personalized plan that links your daily spending with your future goals. It's where we map out how to save, invest, and pay off debt in a way that fits your real life, not some theoretical average. The link is in the description below. And if you're serious about building wealth and reducing stress, this is your next step. If this video gave you clarity and you learned something new from it, here's how you can keep the momentum going. Subscribe to my channel. I release strategies every week for families and professionals who want to master their money. Comment below. Have you tried the 50-30-20 rule? And if so, how did it work for you? And hey, share this video with a friend or a colleague. You could change someone's financial life. Your financial future is so important to leave to chance. Let's start building your roadmap today. See you in the next video.
Okay, let's go.